Hello, everyone, and welcome. We just want to wish everyone a special welcome to our live webcast. Tonight, it's our most popular one because what we do tonight is we cover exactly what your wrestler, or if there's wrestlers on board here tonight, what you should expect when you're going to a J. Robinson camp. It's really our sincere hope that after hearing firsthand from our camp leadership team that a lot of the questions you have about our wrestling camps will be answered. Tonight's webcast is designed to help the parents and coaches and you wrestlers out there to learn exactly what to expect at camps this summer. And what's awesome about tonight is that we've got all the key leadership people here on board that you can ask specific questions regarding our upcoming summer wrestling camps. One key thing you do need to know about what's going to happen here for about the next 45 minutes to an hour is that we have a live online chat available throughout the entire webcast with our veteran staff and customer service personnel handling all the questions. So any question you have, doesn't matter what it is, please post it. It's really a helpful resource for other people who might have the same question. And another neat thing about tonight is that there will be time at the end of the webcast for a live Q&A via chat with both J. Robinson and Ty Eustice. And the webcast is also available on demand on our website at jrobinsoncamps.com. We're really proud that so many wrestlers have chosen to train at J. Robinson camps, and we are reaching over 35,000 J-Rob grads, which is really impressive. And at the end of this wrestling season, J-Rob camp grads had 124 state champions from 41 states and 370 place winners from 42 states. So just to kind of give you a little heads up on how tonight will work, the webcast is divided into 4 parts. First off, our founder, J. Robinson, he'll just kind of go over the history of the camp and just touch on what makes this camp so special for wrestlers. After that, Jay will turn things over to Garret Garness, and he is our Director of Wrestling Operations. Garret will also share time with Ty Eustice, who is our Executive Director, and they're both going to give you some really important facts regarding registration, what happens at camp, and just some really key details that will help your wrestler to have the most beneficial camp experience. After that, again, is the live Q&A, so please stay on board and just Jay and Ty will kind of switch off answering questions. So I'm just going to, again, just go over a little bit of, what makes our camp so special. Again, we have been open since 1978. I don't think there's any other wrestling camp that has been in existence for so long. And we've got close to 35,000 wrestlers who are J-Rob camp grads. Pretty amazing collection of state champions, NCAA champions, Olympians, world medalists. And again, our accomplishments this last year speak for themselves of how well our camp grads did. Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, just what's really interesting now is that we've got fathers who went back in the 70s and 80s and 90s who are now sending their sons. So we're really proud of that. Leading into Jay, he's going to talk here real quick, but just to give you a little bit background on our founder, J. Robinson, he was an Army Airborne Ranger, and a lot of the camp model is based on what he learned at Ranger School. He's also a 1972 U.S. Olympian, and he is the current University of Minnesota head wrestling coach. A lot of all the origins and philosophy of our camps are based on him being at the camp every single year for the past 38 years. And really our mission remains the same. It's to change lives by focusing on intensive physical and mental training that will produce success on the wrestling mat and life. So without further ado, I will hand things over to Jay. Bear with me as I pass over the mic here. You might hear a little rustling, but I'd like you to welcome J. Robinson.
Thank you, Sue. Thing that I'd like to talk about that you're seeing is a little bit about the camp training philosophy. And one of the most important things that we found is the length of time is critical to teach the skills and the attitudes that we need, the work ethic and the good habits, because what we're trying to do is develop new habits and sometimes leave behind old habits that impede us from getting to where we want to be. So The length of time is very important. There's all kinds of intensive camps of 3 and 4 and 5 days, but they don't really drive the lessons deep enough to what we want to do. We also teach campers by how to overcome their physical and mental fatigue, and the way you do that is you put them in those situations. It's an interesting thing is you can't teach people how to wrestle unless they wrestle. You can't teach them how to overcome physical or mental fatigue unless you get them tired and then help them get through it and give them the skills to do that. We also show the campers that they can do things that they didn't think they could do by putting them in situations where we demand things. Sometimes your best isn't good enough. Sometimes you have to do what's required. So we're constantly putting them in situations and challenge what they do. But then at the same time, when we get them in an emotional state to where they might be struggling, is that we give them the skill how to deal with it. And we anchor that skill to their emotional state. Stress inoculation goes a little bit back to overcoming the physical and mental fatigue. It's stressful. It's a little bit, they're away from home, they're away from all of their support groups, and they have to learn to do things on their own. It's kind of a rite of passage for young men. Life skills, what we call the J7 are taught, and we'll talk about them a little bit later here as we go through this. And then we found it to be a life-changing experience, is that we give them things and we anchor things that they will be with them the rest of their life. I had talked about the J7, and the J7 philosophy guides pretty much everything we do at camp. And the idea behind it is, in order to be successful in either wrestling or life, is you need certain skills. You're born as kind of a blank sheet of paper, and the skills that are written on you will help you get to where you want to go. And as we started out, probably the first 15 to 20 years, we had 4 skills, and we talked to the kids about discipline, dedication, sacrifice, and hard work. And then as we were talking about that, we realized that they had to learn to become responsible and accountable. So 6 of the skills then became about them, and then about 5 years ago, my wife, Sue, came up with the idea of J7, and the 7th one is service. And so 6 of the skills are about you. The 7th is, once you learn who you are, then you have an obligation to help others that are less fortunate and need your help. The intensive daily schedule, what we go through, it's all designed to meet very specific physical and mental challenges that you'll come up every day. Take running as an example. Running makes you focus on what you're trying to do. It helps the focus. You can't run if you're running hard. You can't do it lazily. You can't do it with headphones. You have to be focused on what you do. We have a technique session in the morning, but we also review the technique in the afternoon, and then we review it the following night. So campers see the same technique 3 times before they leave camp. So again, we're driving that technical experience deep within them. We actually work in the evening on the mental training part. Is we do visualization every day. Again, it goes back to continually trying to get them to understand the mental part about it, and then having them do it over and over again. And then motivation, we give them, our staff people talk to them about how they were successful with the idea that then the campers can identify with, if they can be successful, I can be successful. Camp fundamentals, technique and training and practice. Obviously, there's a lot of technique training on all different areas, on your feet, on defense, riding, pinning. We cover all the different technical part of the practice, and then we use a hard practice so you can apply it. The campers are separated into groups based upon their weight, and what they do is within that group, they kind of work through it and find people about their level, and they work with those levels throughout the camp. We do drilling and live wrestling to help drive those skills deeper, and we divide them into twice a day. They do running or weight training in the morning. They have a technique session. Then they have a hard wrestling practice, and then at night they go back, and if they haven't run, they run. If they haven't done their weight training, every other day they do their weight training. Athletic training and injury care is a paramount important to us. We have trainers on duty every camp that we're at, every session that we're at. They're qualified. They care if the kids need to be taped. We take care of all the taping. We take care of anything that we need to do as far as their athletic training and injury care. Another thing that we found over the course of time is, since we push the kids so hard, one of the things that we found that is very important is monitoring their weight, because they're going to be sweating a lot while they're at camp. And depending upon how hot it is, we monitor the temperature of the surrounding countryside, knowing that if it's a 90-degree day or a 95-degree day, we cut practice back depending upon what the local conditions are. The other thing we do is that every day we have skin checks. One thing that you have as wrestlers is you have constant contact, and there's transmission of skin diseases. So every day at the technique session, we line them up. The wrestlers and the trainers check them, make them take off their shirts, check their bodies to make sure that they don't have any skin infections that they can pass to other people. So we're continually monitoring their weight, their skin as we're going through camp. The other thing, we develop a personal philosophy, and one of the things that we try to teach young people, as I've gone through it, is a lot of people want to be successful, but they don't know how to be successful, and they don't have a personal philosophy. So we have a workbook that they work through. They have a journal that they have to keep every day. They have to write the good things about camp, what they've learned, what that's reinforced. They go through and they pick 7 words that will represent who they want to be in life. And it's not me telling them who to be. It's not their parents telling them who to be. It's they get to pick who they want to be. And then every day I'm there. I talk to them, usually after every session, and we go over a lot of different topics. We talk about leadership. We talk about overcoming adversity, hard work, mental toughness, service to others. But one of the biggest things in the daily seminars is knowing where they are mentally. Having done this for so long, there's no sense in talking to them about leadership on the first 2 or 3 days, because the first 2 or 3 days they're just trying to survive. So what we talk to them on those first 2 or 3 days is, hey, when you're under stress, when you're having a hard time, here's the skill that you use. Okay, you take it one day at a time. And we anchor that skill to their emotional state, so later on in life, when they get that same emotional state, they will then have skills to deal with the states. It's, in a 28-day camp, the first week, they're overwhelmed, so we teach them how to take care of stress when they're overwhelmed. Second week, they've learned that they can do it. Third week is a different mental state, as they're kind of just going through the motions, so there's some things we do to get them excited. Fourth week, they're excited to leave. And they go through those same stages at every camp. Over the course of time, at our very, very first camp, it started our first camp, we started a shirt, and it's representative of Ranger School. When you go to Ranger School, you get this. It's 61 days long. And what you do if you graduate, you get a little tab that goes on your left-hand shoulder that just says Ranger on it. It's black and gold. And so what we did is we came up with what's called an I Did It shirt. And basically the I Did It shirt is the Ranger tab for J. Robinson Camps. It's significant because you have to earn it. It's not given. There's a point system at camp. The same there was in Ranger School when I went there, is that everybody starts with 1,000 points. You have to have 700 points to graduate. It doesn't make any difference if you have 650 points. You have to hit 700 points to graduate. The beauty about the point system, and everybody wants to know about it, is the majority of points that campers can lose are in their control. They're not in the control of the staff. It's showing up on time, making sure your clothes are clean, making sure that they do their laundry. All those things are in their control. So the I Did It shirt is a big thing, and not everybody gets one, and it's the same way, is you have to earn it to get there. our intensive camp schedule over the course of time. We've developed it. It originally in 1978 started with a 28-day camp in Iowa, and then we had 102 kids. The next year it went to 240. The next third year it went to 280. Became so successful that we then put one in Pennsylvania, what we called at that time, our East Coast mini intensive camp. It filled up and was full. We put one on the West Coast in Ashland, Oregon. It filled up and is full. And then we went to Iowa, and we only had time for 10 days. And then we realized over the course of time 10 days is about the minimum amount of time it's required to get the kids where we need to do. It has to be long enough that the lessons that we teach are driven deep within them. So that's a lot of stuff to go over here. If you have a lot of questions, we'd be happy to answer them when we're done here. And I would like to next introduce Garret Garness, who is our new Director of Wrestling Operations. We're excited that Garrett's here. He's a former NCAA wrestler, wrestled at Ohio University, three-time finalist as a Minnesota State and state champion. And he brings an enthusiasm and youth to the camp, and I think it's going to be great being with him this summer. So at this time, Garret Garness.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, very excited to be a part of the camp system. Obviously, it's been a fun ride here. Haven't been through a camp, summer of camps yet, so very looking forward to that, and excited to get the summer started here very soon. I just want to start off by reminding everyone, type your questions to us. We will have a live Q&A here at the end. We're also responding to a few other questions that we see coming in, so keep those questions coming. Also, take a look at the bottom of the screen. There is a running title bar, so you can see some of the topics that we will be covering here. But the first one is your online account. So everyone that is registered, you can continue to make payments if you haven't done so already. You can re-log into your account. Your login information would have came through in an email to you. So go ahead and do that. We do want payments to be completed at least 3 weeks before the start of the camp, so that's coming up very quickly here for Iowa, for the Iowa Intensive Camp. Any forms, all forms that are needed can be found on the online account as well. Again, check your confirmation email. A lot of those forms can be found in that as well. Purchasing J-Rob products and services. We offer a lot of different things, as I'm sure you probably saw at registration. There's customized workout gear, has your last name on the back. There's jump ropes, stuff to prevent skin issues, just a lot of different things. If you didn't purchase those at registration and would like to still do so, give us a call. And any registration information also that you want to be updated, give us a call. We can definitely do that for you. Any medical forms, those do need to be notarized. We take those very seriously. It's one of those things that we like to have to keep our campers safe and everything. And it's really good for us so we know of any issues ahead of time as well. So parents can go in and fill out those forms. Next, we're going to look at the first day of camp. What to expect on the first day of camp. Make sure if your camper is flying into camp, make sure you purchase the flight shuttle information or the flight shuttle service at registration. If you did so and need to go in and update your flight information, please do that. It helps us know when kids are coming into camp, what time we need to be there to pick them up and everything. Check-in procedure. Obviously, at all the intensive camps, there's a 4-hour window to check in. The earlier the better. We usually say they're between 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock. The earlier the better, just because there is a lot to do in some cases. So make sure to get there as soon as possible. But check-in is open between 1 and 5. I'll also just say we weigh in our campers on the first day. That is their base weight that we use to make sure that they are hydrated throughout the entirety of the camp. I'll get into that in more details here in a little bit, but one thing we've seen is a lot of times campers will eat a huge meal right before, as parents like to send their kids off to camp with a big meal. We actually ask that you don't do that because it does kind of mess up their base weight. It might be more, and again, I'll get into that in a little more detail later on here, but practice starts the very first day. So they have a timed run, and that actually determines what running group they're put into. So the faster they run, they'll be in different running groups, so that when they're running in days of the camp, they'll be running with campers that run similar to them. Pre-order merchandise is actually available for pickup at the camp store the very first day as well. So if you're wondering when you'll get all that customizable gear that you ordered, it will be the first day of camp at the camp store. One more thing I'll just add, not on here, but we get a lot of questions about roommates. We actually choose roommates based on who you are with at check-in. So if you're traveling with someone, if you have a friend or someone that you want to be roomed with, just make sure you check in side by side at the check-in tables, and we'll room you up that time. We actually don't take room reservations ahead of time. If you are coming alone, we do also make sure that we're matching you up with someone based on your age as well. We're not going to match up a 14-year-old with an 18-year-old or anything, or at least we try not to. Next is on-site camp information. First is mail and packages. So in your confirmation materials will contain a lot of this as well, but there is an address if you want to send packages to your son or daughter at the camp. Do not mail them to the JROB main office. Your camper will probably not get it if it is done so. Telephone. So we actually have a lot of phone numbers here. One of them is the staff duty phone. That person changes on a daily basis. The camp store phone, if you want to add camp store bucks to your son or daughter's account, you can call the camp store phone. They will do that. There's also an athletic trainer phone number, as well as the main office phone number as well. Laundry is done every day. It's only for workout gear. Casual clothes that campers wear on a daily basis, just walking around, those are done by your camper themselves. Each college we are at does have their own laundry facilities that you will pay for as well. Food is just done by the school's cafeteria. Think of your typical college cafeteria food. Visitor protocol. Anyone is welcome to come in and watch camps, whether it be coaches, parents, brothers, friends. Anyone can come visit. We actually encourage it. It's a great way for parents and coaches to see what these campers and athletes are actually going through every single day. One other thing is traffic and pedestrian laws are enforced. So no jaywalking when you go up to an intersection, cross it in the crosswalks. This is actually done for the camper's safety. We do take it very, very seriously. Next is the camp store. So I had mentioned camp store bucks. Basically what that is as a parent you can provide your athlete with money without having cash in hand. You can call the camp store phone. They can take credit card over the phone, and it will be added to your son or daughter's account, so they can purchase things within the camp store, whether it be Gatorade, snacks, beverages. We do subs and pizza at night. Otherwise, if you would rather prefer your son or daughter have cash, they can actually store that cash in the camp bank. Basically, an envelope is provided with the camper's name on it, and it is put into a lockbox. That way, it just prevents anyone from stealing it, anything like that. Camp store is open 3 times a day, basically in between sessions and at night. Really a great time to get some Gatorade, things like that, that your camper wants. Next is what to bring. So you can see a list of things. So MP3 players, iPods, things like that, they're allowed. Jay mentioned a little bit earlier, but MP3 players, iPods, things of that nature, you cannot use them while using the runs in the morning, except on the final run or the marathon at the end of, on the last day of camp, because we just want you to focus on running and pushing yourself rather than listening to music, things of that nature. I'll also mention a bike. That is for the Minnesota 28-day camp only. A lot of kids, it is a little bit further at that camp, but we suggest scooters, skateboards, bikes, things of that nature for 28-day campers. Things not to bring, obviously some of them are very obvious. Alcohol, tobacco products, that will not be tolerated. As soon as, if we see any of that, you will be sent home. Don't bring toaster ovens, anything like that can cause a fire, or air conditioners. If you have any questions about that, again, visit your confirmation materials. An email was sent to you probably right after registration and a couple weeks after you registered. Visit those confirmation materials. You will see a lot of information in those. Please read those. A lot of questions can be answered by visiting your confirmation materials. So with that being said, I'm actually going to introduce Ty Eustice. Ty was in my role for 4 years, so he's been to camp, he's experienced it, he stayed with the kids, as I will this summer. So very excited to introduce Ty Eustice.
Hello everyone, we just have a few more slides left to go here, and then we're going to get to the Q&A, which is always fun for people to kind of ask some ad-lib questions here, but just a few more slides left, a few very important ones. We have our safety slide here, and like Garrett said, I've been with the company for 4 years, and I think, a few of the things that we're about to talk about are kind of what separate our camp from everybody else, some things that we take very, very seriously. Obviously safety and the well-being of our campers is priority number one while we're at camp. We know that we're really pushing these kids very, very hard, and we do our best to take care of them, and that's a huge priority of ours. So Jay already touched on it a little bit, but we are doing daily weigh-ins, and that is meant to monitor hydration. It's not a perfect method, but it's a method that we have to use to make sure that kids aren't losing too much body weight. If they dip below that 1.5% body weight loss, we will have them sit out for 2 practices, and that's something that we found to be very effective for them to sit out, get hydrated, and then we do want to get them right back into action. We don't want them to sit out, but we have to make sure that our campers are staying hydrated, and we do our best to monitor that. Same with the skin. Any skin conditions, we're checking every single day. We're having skin checks before sessions start. Jay touched on the herpes prevention. That's something that we really take seriously. That's just part of wrestling right now, but we're trying to go above and beyond with our athletic trainers to help prevent any of those things that we can prevent. Jay also talked about adjusting the practices a little bit. It's something that he really is monitoring on an hour-to-hour basis as we get into the days at camp. We'll shift practices to the morning if it's going to be really hot later in the day. That's just something that we have to do from a safety standpoint. The athletic training staff is something that we also take very seriously. They go through a training program. We're bringing in certified athletic trainers, and we have 5 to 7 full-time trainers staffed at all times, depending on the size of the camp, obviously. Same with our staff. They're going through a staff training program before our camps even start. They're also being CPR certified as well, just our staff are. We try to keep that 8-to-1 ratio of staff of campers to staff, and sometimes it's even better than that when you factor in our athletic trainers. We do put all of our new staff through background checks, and that's something that we're doing every couple of years, even with our old staff. We understand as parents that you're concerned about safety, and you're sending your sons and daughters across the country sometimes to be in our care, and that's something that we really take seriously. So these are some things that we're trying to help parents feel at ease. We're taking feedback from you, and we're doing the best we can do with some of these things. The last thing that we get a lot of questions about, how do you keep track of all these kids with the staff? the way that I describe it is a really structured environment. Kids are being checked in and checked out up to 8 times per day. And that's why we do roll calls before and after every single practice. It's to make sure that we're looking at the kids, we're talking to them one-on-one, we're checking them off on our lists, and we know that they're there, we know that they're safe, and they're having interaction with the staff up to 8 times per day. And that's something that, Jay has perfected over the years, and it's something that obviously works. Pre-camp preparation is another question that we get a lot, and I'll just be very candid, is, you're sending your wrestler to a camp where they're going to be working out 4 times a day for 10, 14, or 28 days. So the really obvious answer of, well, how do I get ready for camp? It's, you need to be spending a few days up to a couple weeks where your son or daughter is doing multiple workouts in a day. That would be my really candid response to how do I get ready for camp. We're running, we're wrestling, we're drilling, and we are strength training every single day. So you need to put your body through that type of challenge leading up to camp. If you really want to get the most out of camp, you need to be physically prepared from a conditioning standpoint. So I would encourage you to get out there, get multiple workouts in a day for several weeks leading up to camp. Jay talked about Valtrex. Again, we did a study, a doctor did a study several years ago at our 28-day camp. Through his study, he came away with a huge takeaway of Valtrex help prevent the spread of herpes. And it's not something that we want to dwell on, but it is a reality of camp. You can really help your chances by getting on that Valtrex before camp starts and having your camper continue it through camp. So please consult that study. If you want more information on it, email our office or call us here at the office, and we can get you in touch with that study that explains exactly the effect that Valtrex can have. Another thing with the 12 sets of gear kind of goes along with putting your name on everything. We tell campers to bring 12 sets of gear because there's some things that you can't really account for, and that goes into, you could have some things get ripped, you could have some things get stained. These are high school boys and girls where they could misplace a few things. Cleanliness is a huge priority for us. We want to make sure that the kids are in clean gear every single practice. That's a huge part of the skincare system. So we recommend 12 sets of gear. Put your name on everything, even socks, underwear, headgear, shoes. Put it, if you want to hide it, that's fine, but put their name on it. That's really going to help everyone keep track of their own things. Obviously, a good pair of running shoes. The kids are going to be running. We don't make any secret about that. So help their knees out, help their shins out, get a good pair of running shoes, let them break in a little bit before camp starts, make sure they're running in those things before they show up to the first day. The last thing is, please review the confirmation materials that we send you after registering. We put a lot of effort into those confirmation materials. The information in there is going to help you prepare for camp. So take the time, have everyone in your family read those confirmation materials, because a lot of the answers to your questions are within those confirmation materials. So please take the time. That'll save you a lot of time on the back end of scrambling for an answer. Again, customer service, I think, is one of those things that sets us apart from everybody else. We have a full-time person committed to our camps here that their job is to answer your questions. Her name is Kelly. She's accessible by email or phone. We have a 24-hour response time to all inquiries. That's even during the summer, and you're going to get your questions answered much sooner than that. So we're here to answer your questions. We're here to help you if you have concerns. Garrett and myself are here in the office every day. If you have questions leading up to camp, please give us a call. We want your wrestler to be prepared for camp, and we can give you some insight if you want to call and talk to us about any issues leading up to camp or during camp. When we get into the summer months, our camp office phone, our main line here at the office, will be monitored 7 days a week. Again, Kelly gets calls transferred to her. So again, this isn't something where we take the weekends off. When we're in summer mode, it's all hands on deck, and we want to be here to answer your questions. So if there's concerns, if there's issues, make sure you give us a call. We can't do anything if we don't know if there's a problem. So please let us know. If you're trying to get a hold of your camper at camp, Obviously a lot of kids now are having cell phones, so that's probably going to be your first recourse, is just go right to your wrestler. But we do have multiple lines that will get you directly to camp. The staff duty phone is always answered. There's one staff person per day who's answering that. And also the athletic training phone, you'll be provided with that. That'll go directly to one of the athletic trainers. And then Garrett touched on it, but we will. The camp store manager also has a direct line to her. So if you have any questions in those 3 areas, don't hesitate to call. And obviously everyone has our home office here in Minneapolis phone number as well. So there's never an excuse not to get a hold of someone. We provide all those numbers, and people will be answering those phones throughout the summer. Along those same lines, we continue to be innovative in our social media and the information that we present to you guys on the internet. We're not going to make any promises about how often we're going to upload things, but we're definitely going to do our best to try to give everyone, a glimpse into the camps as they go throughout the summer. Obviously our first priority is focusing on the kids and helping them improve, and that's where almost all of our energy goes, is to the workouts and the training and talking to your wrestlers. But another important thing is to try to give parents a glimpse into what's happening at camp, and we will absolutely do our best to be posting updates, a few pictures and a few videos here and there on all our social media platforms. We're really doing a lot on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So please follow those things. It should really help you stay current about what's happening at camp, and hopefully you can learn a few things on there as well. So on to you parents are very interested about what's happening at camp. Just a few quick things that we're very open about. Parents can come to any practice they want at camp. Obviously, we're trying to preach independence with your wrestlers, and that is a huge part of what we're doing at camp. But if a parent wants to stop in and visit for a day or two, we will never turn a parent away from a practice as long as it's not being disruptive to the flow of camp. But our practices are open. The one thing that we are very upfront about is the camp is a very tough experience for your wrestlers. It's supposed to be hard. Without a challenge, there's not going to be any change in your wrestler. So that's really a mantra that we really hold very dear to us, is we're here to challenge the kids, and there's no doubt that they're going to be challenged in a lot of different ways. A lot of times you might get a call after, it's usually very early in camp when kids are going through a little bit of that shock phase about, can I do this? I want to come home. This is too hard. Some of the things that we tell parents are to set the expectations before your wrestler goes off to camp. Tell them that they have one choice, and that choice is to stay at camp and tough it out. And don't open the door to coming home. Just say, hey, we know this is going to be hard. That's why you're going there. Let's go there and accept the challenge. And that has really worked well for a lot of people. Encourage them to fight through any hard times. That's really what the camp's about. Ask them specific questions about what they're learning at camp. A lot of times that can get your wrestler to focus on the positives, focus on the small things that they're learning, and that'll help get them through. It's really a day-by-day process, and that's what we preach even to the kids while we're at camp. Give them guidance, tell them that you care about them, but that the camp is going to help them keep the big picture in mind and just take it day by day. Also for parents, if you do, we get a lot of parents to come on the second to last day of camp. Quite a few parents come in for that last red flag practice. One thing we want to note is that Jay will take some time before that red flag practice. He'll take all the parents off to the side and give them, it's just a chance for him to share a little bit of his philosophy and talk to the parents about what has happened at camp. And the parents seem to really enjoy it. And then the next day, obviously, they get up and they complete their final run. So a few highlights, and then we're going to get into the Q&A. Red flag days are usually the second to last day of camp. Obviously, at the 28-day camp, we have several red flags because it's such a long camp. But red flag day is just it's a very intense, hard practice, and the kids are constantly moving. They're not stopping, and it's something that is supposed to kind of be a culmination of the entire camp. They're proving to themselves that they can really just push through any type of physical or mental barriers, and that's what Red Flag Day means if you hear that term. Black hat winners, I believe Jay touched on a little bit, but a black hat winner is really we pick one kid per wrestling group that has separated themselves from everyone else. They've really exemplified what our camp stands for, and it's obviously a very rare prize to get that black hat, and that's something that is held in really high regard here at our company. I already mentioned the final 9, 12, or 15-mile run. That's a choice that your wrestler will make going into that last morning of camp. A lot of times what they choose will determine whether they get that I did it shirt or not. We always just stress to the kids, take on a challenge, do the hardest thing that you can do, and if you set your mind to it, there's nothing that you can't do. I just talked about the J-Rob presentation to parents. I will note that Jay also likes to take parents off to the side during check-in. So if you're there for check-in on day one, if you get a chance, be around there, and it's usually around 3 o'clock. Jay will pull all the parents off to the side again and just be accessible to parents and answer any questions, but really just share a little bit about his philosophy as it pertains to what the kids are about to go through. Personal philosophy development, I think, is a really important thing that we stress during camp. It's making kids choose, hey, what kind of person do I want to be? That's kind of the first step in the goal setting process. You decide who you want to be. That helps you decide, what goals you want to set for yourself, and that's a really important thing that I've noticed. Again, another one of those things that Jay's just kind of perfected over 38 years, and it's fun to see the kids complete that and the goal setting plan, which he talked about earlier. The seminars on life skills, again, we're trying to equip these kids with skills that they can use once they leave camp, and it's something that we take very, very seriously, and we spend time on at camp. It would be very easy for us to just delete some of these things out of camp, but we do it because it's a huge value to the kids once they leave. The Smile Network is something that we take great pride in, and I think our campers do after the fact, maybe several years later when they look back on their camp experience. We talk to kids about a Smile Network charity that we contribute to. They are a company that helps fix children with cleft palate, and what happens is we talk about it. The kids will donate, $1 or $2 here and there throughout camp, and this is part of the service component. At the end of camp, we tally up their amount, and our company matches whatever the kids donated over the summer. So we will always send out updates after the fact on the Smile Network's progress and the impact that our camps have directly had on the Smile Network. The money that we contribute will go to help that corporation fix many of those children with cleft palates. So look for those in our follow-up emails and items like that. That's something that we're really proud of. And the last thing is graduation, which happens on the second to last day right after the Red Flag Day. That's where we're recognizing the kids for making it through camp. We're kind of at that last little bit of camp where we're talking about the marathon and the final run the next morning. But graduation is just a really culmination of camp where kids are really proud of themselves for what they've done. That's another part of camp that we see a lot of parents at because they want to see that final little stretch that their wrestlers have competed. So we're getting a few questions here, and we'll start to move into our Q&A. We've covered a lot, but you still have time. Type in any questions that you might have if they're really specific or broad. Me and Jay definitely want to spend a few minutes here. It's always fun for us to answer very specific questions because we know that you guys are just very interested in the camps that we have. So we really enjoy these questions. Feel free to type them in. We're getting a few questions about our 5-day camps, and we have 4 technique camps around the country. We also have 2 competition camps around the country this year. Actually, we have 5 technique camps. I'm sorry. We have a 5-day camp in a technique camp in Georgia, and then we moved to a technique camp in Texas. We have a technique camp in Minnesota. We have a technique camp in California, and we have a technique camp in Washington. Our 2 competition camps take place in Georgia and Minnesota as well, and those are really growing in popularity. Your technique camp is a lot of times for the kid that wants to focus on the skills. They want to focus on the small technical facets of wrestling. They want to focus on the things that they think are going to help them the following year. It's those skills, but they spend a lot of time drilling We bring in headliners from around the country, national champions, All-Americans, to help teach really specific skills. So go to our website. You're going to learn a lot more about our 5-day camps. We have some great headliners this year, including AJ Shop, who was an Edinburgh alumni. We have Nashawn Garrett, who is just a national champion for Cornell. We also have Gabe Dean, who is a national champion for Cornell. Luke Becker, the assistant coach for the University of Minnesota, will also be headlining. And Kevin LaValle, who used to work for Minnesota and was a longtime staffer of ours, is now going to be running our 5-day competition camp in Georgia. And we're very excited to have Kevin back in that capacity, and we're really happy to introduce that competition camp down in Georgia. They're becoming extremely popular. We're getting a lot of kids to register from across the country at those camps. So please visit our website if you want more information on our 5-day camps. So a few other, we'll just kind of start running through a few of the questions here, and I'll kind of hand the microphone off to Jay as well. He likes to answer some of these. So I'll pick a few of the questions here that I can answer. Can you wear headphones on runs? We do not allow any headphones during the day-to-day operations of camp. So the only time we allow headphones are on the final run. That's that very last thing, the last day that the kids do. But on days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way through camp, they cannot wear headphones while we're running. We want them to focus on what they're doing. We want them to focus on the hard work that they're putting in. A huge part of running is focusing on what you're doing, and that's where you're building that mental strength. And we also care about safety as well. We want kids to be listening to the staff. We understand on the final run it's kind of a little bit of a treat for the kids to be able to wear headphones, and it's highly supervised on the final run. We have staff and athletic trainers scattered throughout the course, so that's something that we're a little bit more comfortable with. How many mats at the 28-day camp? We have 12 camps, sometimes 14 depending on the numbers. So we will adjust that as well depending on the numbers, but we're usually somewhere around 20 kids per mat, which is 10 groups per mat. A lot of times, we're shuffling kids in and out of sessions and live wrestling. So we have plenty of room at the 28-day camp. There's lots of pictures of it on our website and on our social media. So if you want to see a picture of that, we have some great overhead shots of that. Will really help you get an idea of what we're looking at. Question about strength training. Will you train kids how to lift weights properly? A very good question. Actually, the first day when kids show up, they go through the check-in line. They'll bring all their things up to their room, and then their very next stop is to go to the weight room. We have staff there, and they are going to put the kids through what we call orientation in the weight room. So they're getting some instructions on how to use each machine, each station that we have set up at camp, and it really helps those kids that are coming in a little bit maybe nervous about strength training. We have staff down there, and they have to go down there and check in with our staff, and they're being put through orientation. So it's another one of those things where we're worried about the kids being safe. We want them to be prepared, and then that very next day they might be in that weight room. So and obviously while we're in the weight room for the workouts, we have staff as well. Question about supplements, protein shakes, BCAAs, other supplements, are they allowed at camp? Yeah, we're never going to endorse any supplements. The only one that we point people away from is creatine, just because of the hydration issues that are associated with creatine. If you're taking that supplement, you have to be very, very hydrated and conscientious of your water intake, and that's just not something that we want to see because of the heat sometimes during the summer, and the fact that we're doing 4 workouts a day. I don't think it mixes. We're not going to say no to any of these other supplements. We're also not going to endorse any. We're kind of a little bit indifferent to those. There's definitely nothing wrong with protein or BCAAs. If you think that that's going to help your recovery to get ready for the next practice the next day, by all means go ahead. The creatine is the one that will probably kind of say we recommend you staying away from that. The last one that I'll answer, and then I'll turn it over to Jay, is the question about weight loss guidelines. Do you lose points if you lose too much weight? You're not losing points for losing weight. You might lose points for sitting out of practice. Whatever the reason is for sitting out of practice, if you're not in practice doing the workout, you're not doing what everyone else in the camp is doing, therefore you shouldn't get credit for what everyone else in the camp is doing. So we want people to be involved. We want people to be involved in the activities. Part of that, though, is doing your job on a hydration level. Remember, our concern is safety. You have to maintain that hydration level for us to allow you to participate. So if you're not participating, yes, you will be losing a certain amount of points. I hope I've answered those questions. I'll turn the rest over to Jay. I do want to touch on one thing. We had the dates incorrectly stated on our intensive camp schedule on this webcast. We had June 2nd through 29th for the 28-day camp. That's obviously July 2nd through July 29th. So just wanted to point that out in case anyone was a little confused. We didn't change the dates on that. We just had the June and July mixed up. But small thing, please visit our website for any other questions, and I will hand it over to Jay now. We got a bunch more questions, but we definitely have time for a few more. Thank you.
Thanks, Ty. Just one other thing here on the weight loss that someone asked about is that is under their control. And one of the things that we do is we put a scale in the lounge in the dorm to where they can check their weight on a daily basis. So they don't have to go down. What we try to do is everything that's done at camp is done for a reason. You can pretty much ask us anything and we'll give you a reason why it's there, whether it has to do with cutting back because of the weather, whether it has their name on the back of their shirt. The reason that goes on the back of the shirt is that when you have a bunch of kids there, is that what you do is you identify a name and a face and you get to know the kids a lot faster. So I like to tell the kids when they come to camp is everything is done for a reason here. So the same thing with weight loss. In putting that scale in the dorm, it's their responsibility to check on it. And if they know they have a weigh-in, which they do about the first 5 or 6 days, they know that they're going to go from breakfast to the weigh-in, and they know approximately what 1.5% of their body weight is, that they can check their weight and make sure that they are where they need to be. One of the questions, working out to get ready for camp, obviously there should be some running, probably 4 or 5 times a week. The kind of running can be varied. There'll be days of sprints, there'll be some days with stairs, there'll be longer runs. So any kind of runs to get your legs in shape will benefit you when you get to camp. The same with weight workouts. Probably more important than just heavy lifts is more circuits and the ability to do repetitions to build your endurance. Time requirements for the final run. There's a time requirement that we have, 11 to 12 minutes for the 12 miles or the 15 miles. The way the final run goes at a 10-day or a 14-day camp, their choice is to run either 9 miles or 12 miles. At the 28-day camp, their choice is to run 9 miles, 12 miles, or 15 miles. It is really the only time in camp that they're assured of bonus points is if they run the 15 miles or the 12 miles. So they get to choose on their own. Are there Sundays half days? It depends on what camp you go to. If you go a 10-day or a 14-day camp, there is a morning run. They're off if they want to go to church, and they lose no points for it. At the 28-day camp, they actually get the morning off at the 28-day camp on Sundays. They have breakfast if they want to get up. Some of them do, some of them don't. We have a chapel for them that either I or one of the other coaches run. If they don't want to go to church, if they want to go to church, they're allowed to go to church. Then we come back. We usually have a practice in the afternoon that's a combination of running and some technique and then hard wrestling. We kind of put the group together, and then depending upon how they work, how hard they work the day before on Saturday is whether they get Sunday night off. So a lot of the things that are done at camp are done based upon the effort that they as a group put forth. Are over-the-counter meds allowed? Yes, they are. That's up to the individual and their parents. There's obviously drugstores, usually within walking distance of all the camps. Can you bring a video game system? You can, but what usually happens is the amount of time that you have to spend on a video game, you're not going to have. Because of the duration of the camp, the intensity and the workload, most people, when they get some time off, are going to be sleeping. It's one of the skills that we have is sacrifice, is that you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to give up fun time of playing video games, in essence, to get some rest, let your body come back so you can do the next practice, because it's 4 days every day and it's extremely difficult, and you're going to find that you're going to prioritize things very quickly, and one of the most important things is sleep and rest so your body's ready to get up and do the next thing that it's required. So somebody wants to know if you're allowed to call home once in a while. Yeah, we want you to call home, tell them what's going on. Things that don't change much at camp. It's pretty much the same thing every day. But there is a thing with cell phones, is that once you walk into the workout facility, whether it's the gym or whether it's the field house, then your phone can no longer be in your possession, or it cannot be out. If you use the phone while you're in the thing, the phone will be taken away from you. So there's a time to use your phone and there's a time not to use your phone. And we have not had problems with it over the course of the years. We always have a few people, but that's just our rule, is that when you walk into the building, you're there to learn, you're there to wrestle, you're there for a deliberate practice, and we need your focus. So so we go from there. So there's a lot of things that we've gone over. The time requirement for the final run is depending upon which run you're at, whether it's 9 miles, 12 miles, or 15 miles. I believe it's 11-minute miles, and that's what you have. And while you have that time period, realize that there's trainers on the course the entire time. Is that there's trainers at the 2, 4, and 6 mile on a 12-mile run. There at the 2, 4, and 6 mile checkpoints, and then there's 2 cars that are going back and forth all the time if there's any problems with any campers that they have during running. So they're monitored the entire time when they're out there, and the courses that they run, they're safe places. We've never had an accident, and we're aware of what they're doing, and we're monitoring the entire time while they're out. So so that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff to go through. We're excited about camp this summer, as we have. This is our 38th year. What we've done over the course of years is we've been able to make the camp better and better every year, because 4 things have never changed: the time period, the quest for excellence, the workload, and myself. So it's helped us to be able to focus on the things that we need to do, get rid of the things that don't work. So we've perfected, and we understand why things work. We understand why there's a time frame that's needed to get the kids where they need to be, and why what we do goes so deep in and stays so long in it, and then why some dads are sending their sons back because of the positive experience they had in their life. So anyway, we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We hope we answered some of your questions. If you have other questions, do feel free to pick up the phone, call Kelly or call Garret. They'll get back to you right away. If they're not there, they'll get the information and we'll get you the answer that you need. Like I said, we encourage parents, if they want to come and see what camp is, come see what it is, because we want you to understand what's going on. Ty said about it, I'll talk to the parents first camp at 3 o'clock, just so tell them what they're going to go through, because words really don't justify what's going to happen at that period of time, because they're taken away from everybody and they're thrown into a new environment. But we're excited for camp this summer. We got a great staff. We got some great things going on, and we look forward to seeing you all at the Iowa camp in about 3 weeks and getting the summer started. So thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you soon.